Okay, hi Emma, how are you?
Good. Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming along to our first session in our series of podcasts in the legal tech space. I just want to introduce Emma as the Head of Partnerships for Smokeball Australia. Emma,
Thanks.
Can you just give me a quick little background about how you got to Smokeball and your journey so far?
Yeah, thank you. So I've been with Smokeball since 2017, about a year after we launched in the Australian market. Prior to that, I was actually working for a small law firm and studying law. I could really see that there was a lot of opportunity for, innovation and technology in the small law firm space. So that is why I decided to move into legal technology instead of going on and practicing.
Well, it is an exciting space, the legal tech space, which is how I've come into the space as well. So my name's Mark Gibbins. I'm the founder and CEO of Kawaconn, and we're very excited to have you in here today, Emma. Now, the cybersecurity space, the operational efficiencies, the productivity gains that we get from using a platform such as Smokeball. What sets Smokeball apart from the other PMSs in either of the practice areas that you specialise in?
Yeah, it's a really interesting market, particularly at the moment. There's a number of players that are really pushing into the mid-market space. And we've always felt very strongly that we are well aligned to small law, which to us means, law firms that are 1 to 30 staff with, maybe up to 2 or 3 partners. We love working with small law firms like that because they're the ones that tend to do a lot of work with regular people, everyday people, and people buying property, people going through divorces. It's really important to us to, be giving back to the community in that way by helping those smaller businesses run as efficiently as possible. I like to say as well that, Smokeball is all about helping those small law firms run better businesses in whatever way that we can. So making sure that our software is as out of the box and configurable and ready to go as possible is really important to us, so that, they can buy the software and get up and running quite quickly.
Yeah. And how long does it normally take someone to, from go to woe, from the time they call you and you explain to them that you are a practicing lawyer and you really understand the difficulties that they face? How long does it take them to get up and running?
Yeah, good question. When I first started working at Smokeball, that was actually my role. I would do the installation and training of the lawyers using the software. And back in the day, when we were just starting out, it would take, just a couple of days to get up and running. We're in a very different space now where we have, an entire dedicated onboarding team, which, of course, that can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks up to a month or more, depending on what information we're requesting from the law firm and how long it takes to get back. But we really pride ourselves on delivering what we call legendary service. We offer what we call, again, a white glove implementation service, which means that we will hold that law firm's hand the entire way through that onboarding journey and beyond that as well with our client success team.
Yeah. Well, from what I've heard in the marketplace, that's quite a successful process that you provide and the service that you provide to get everybody up and running. And as a third-party provider of services to law firms via Smokeball, you must have a lot of other APIs and other partners that you partner with. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the benefits of the ease of integrations and APIs that you're able to provide to those small law firms?
Yeah, another really great question, and something that I'm particularly passionate about, and so is our CEO, Hunter Steele. We've developed our API documentation and API endpoints over the last 18 to 24 months. Prior to that, we didn't necessarily have an open API, and we were quite dedicated, to building out as much of the platform ourselves as possible. But we quickly came to realize that, we couldn't do everything ourselves. We can't service every single niche that a lawyer is trying to solve. So that's why we decided to go ahead and develop the APIs and completely open up what we call our app ecosystem. So I'm, as part of my role as head of partnerships, I'm actively seeking out integration partners every day. We have an ecosystem globally now with over 50 partners connected to us. So yeah, it's something we're really excited and proud of, because
that's a huge advantage that you're able to provide your clients. What are some of the most popular APIs that you're working with at the moment?
Yeah, so client experience is a really hot topic for businesses around the world at the moment, particularly for law firms that have traditionally been a little bit older school, relying on word of mouth and referral for new business. That's not necessarily the best way to operate in a more digital age. People love to go online and look at Google reviews. So we work quite closely with Birdeye, which is an online reputation management platform. So not necessarily specific to law firms. It's kind of more of a broader professional services platform, but our law firms are loving it. It's just a really nice, simple integration where, of course, anytime they complete a file on behalf of a client, it will prompt that client to complete an online review. So that way, of course, the law firm is continuously building
getting
out their brand.
Feedback. And is that distributed to other prospective clients, or is it more of an in-house feedback mechanism?
As far as I understand it, you can run it a couple of different ways. You can use it as, a team, almost like a tool to give feedback back to your team members for areas of improvement and stuff like that. But I think the main aim of Birdeye is actually to help build out that online Google review brand building.
Now, at the heart of Smokeball, it's is it wrong to describe it as a workflow productivity platform?
Yeah, we call ourselves a productivity powerhouse.
Right, okay.
That's where we really see our strength, is in the work that lawyers do, making them as productive and as efficient as possible. So, whether it's producing documents or email correspondence or time capture, whatever work that the lawyer is doing, we want to make that as easy as possible to do through our software.
Yep. And I can see how some of that would work well with some of your API providers, with your SMS providers or your automated emails. Are there any other API providers that you've been able to leverage off to get some real value? Have you got any case experiences where I'm sure people are calling you up and saying, hey, thanks, Emma, for this recommendation. This particular app that we're using now is amazing for us?
Yeah, definitely. Another really great app integration that we work with is VXT, which is a voice over IP phone service. Oh, wow. They're actually a New Zealand-based company. Luke Campbell, who's the CEO of VXT, is young, innovative, and really, really focused on solving for small law firms, just like we are. He's got a really great phone service that he provides that's integrated with our platform, allows lawyers to capture, call transcription, the time that they're spending on calls, and really easily bill for that as well. So it's great. Okay, fantastic. Now, I read a paper just recently that the take-up of workflow platforms is in the US in particular is in the younger age groups. How do you manage the change management aspects of the target market that you're going after? Yeah, that's so interesting. I feel like even just a few years ago, before COVID, when I was still doing a lot of the installing training of law firms coming onto our platform, they did tend towards that older generation that was still a little bit resistant to adoption of technology. But I think, globally, COVID totally changed that. Whether you were, an older person or younger, like you had to just kind of adapt. More mature. Yeah, that's probably a politer way of putting it. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. More mature. You had to adapt to that, obviously, and just, it was a sink or swim situation. And we did see a number of law firms actually go and retire because they weren't kind of prepared to take on that challenge. But so many so many, pivoted the way that they were running their businesses and really embraced that change. And we're seeing a lot of that again, I think, with AI as well. I've been just speaking to a firm earlier this week who has signed up for an enterprise license with ChatGPT. They run a lot of information through that tool to help with summarization. So obviously being mindful always to take out any personally identifying information, any client details, but just that high level detail that they're trying to pull out of, long documents or long-winded emails. It's just, so helpful.
And globally, I mean, you're in the UK, you're in the US, and you're in Australia. Are you seeing any trends in the US that maybe ahead of Australia, or seeing anything in Australia that we're ahead of in other markets that you're in?
Oh, it's a good question too. I went to a conference at the end of last year that one of our partners, Stripe, was running, and Stripe's a global fintech platform. And one of the really interesting data points that they pulled out was around the adoption of PayWave technology. So as I'm sure you know, in Australia, most people these days don't even take a physical card or wallet with them anymore. It's just everything's tap and go. Whereas in the US, the adoption of that has been so much slower, which you wouldn't expect for a place where Silicon Valley exists. But that is actually a trend globally. The US market is a little bit slower to adopt.
Slow in that space.
And I think, we see that a little bit with legal technology as well. Before we launched in the US market in 2012, there wasn't a huge number of players in the legal tech market that offered a productivity solution like we did. And so change management from, using tools like WordPerfect or, not even using Microsoft products was really, really hard for us in those early days because a lot of our software relies on really tight integration with Word and Outlook to generate, court files and email correspondence.
So is there anything we can learn from the US, do you think, in Australia?
It's interesting. You know what I love about US legal technology, at least, from working with my counterpart over in the States, Chelsea Lambert, they're just so much more willing to take a risk on a new idea. That's what I've found.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that because of the market fragmentation and the state-based legal jurisdictions over there? Because most of the law firms are quite small in the US. There are very few law firms that are national, and there's very few that do cross-border work just because it's harder to get, registrations in different bar associations. It's quite an ordeal to go through that process, although I understand that they are changing the way registrations of the bar associations are done. Is that an advantage to a business like yours?
I mean, yes and no. The great thing for us, right, there's constantly new startup law firms that obviously we can help service, which is great. But on the flip side, they may not necessarily have the tenure or the experience to be able to run their own business fresh out of law school. So that's the, other side of things. We do see a lot of businesses closing within that first year, which isn't ideal. Whereas obviously here and also in the UK, you need to work under someone supervised for a number of years before you can kind of go out and do that yourself.
Okay. I didn't appreciate that you can pretty much just hang your shingle up once you get out of law school in the States. And you're registered with the Bar Association and you're an expert. Right. And so they don't have the accreditation processes for the different specialty areas that we have. You're in the conveyancing, family, estate and personal injury space.
That's right.
Now, I'm more familiar through the Kawaconn product in the personal injury space, but are there accreditations for the different levels of legal practice for conveyancing, family and estate in Australia?
Yes, there is. Yeah, definitely for all three of those.
Okay, because there isn't in the US. You're either an attorney or you're a trial attorney, and then you go into court. But there isn't that distinction, is there?
No, not in the same way that we have here. And obviously, we have a slightly different makeup of our profession with solicitors and barristers. Whereas in the US, all attorneys are kind of capable of appearing in court and doing the paperwork as well.
And how does that influence how the precedents in the platform are set up?
Yeah, so in Australia, we have quite neatly, only a set number of states, and across each of those states there's different court forms and obviously legal precedents that are used. Some areas of law are federal jurisdiction, like family law, which makes it nice and easy for us to...
Yes, of course.
Whereas the major difference with the US is, 50 states, and then however many counties within each of those states, they operate very, very differently. You'll find that every county has a different type of format for their court forms. Legal precedents, which they call legal templates, are totally different, depending where you work. So it is almost like 50 separate countries.
So how do you support then all the different types of, or all the different jurisdictions and all the permutations of being the best possible lawyer using your Smokeball platform? That must be really difficult.
It is difficult. So when we launched in the US market in 2012, it was quite tricky for us. We wanted to kind of approach all 50 states from the get-go and sell to all of them, but quite quickly we realized that that wasn't the right approach. We needed to be quite targeted, kind of build our brand in each state. So we have our head office for the US business over in Chicago, so we sell very effectively in Illinois. We also sell very well in California. We recently partnered with a Texas brand called TX Docs, which is really well known and loved over in Texas. So that's helped us obviously move into that state as well and sell to attorneys that are familiar with that brand. But at a high level, in Australia and the US and the UK, we always set up our businesses with a team of legal product specialists. So they are ex-legal staff. I actually used to run this team as well in Australia. All of them have worked in a law firm or practiced as a lawyer. They help us build out the content in the platform. Obviously, having that experience of work there themselves, it makes it much easier for us to kind of localize the content that we're providing to the law firms using our software.
So built by lawyers for lawyers.
That's the idea. And we spend a lot of time as well on the phone or on Zoom calls with our clients and actually getting their feedback too. It's something, again, I used to run our product management team, and product is designed to do that, right? They will build parts of the software and then go out and speak to those clients or lawyers using the software and get their thoughts, ideas about whether it's actually solving the problem that they're actually experiencing every day in the work that they do.
So it's come a long way in a very short period of time. What do you see on the horizons? What are the innovations? Can you give us any, secret product launches? Is there anything happening on the horizon that we should know about?
Yeah, so AI is definitely a really, really hot topic for us and, the world generally, but particularly in legal tech, right? And, there's a lot of really great startups that are popping up that are trying to solve problems with AI technology. And we, want to support all of those tech startups as well as developing something ourselves. We feel that there's a lot of content that's already within the software that could be much more easily summarized or surfaced or understood using AI. So I can't go into any details about exactly what's launching, but
just between you and me, Emma, this is only going to be broadcast to a limited selection of the 150,000 people that we have already listening to our podcasts. But good to know that you've got AI on the horizon. Is there any other collaborations that you're working with? Because if I look back to where we started our conversation, which was about the different API integrations that you've got going on for the different practice areas that you've got. And I understand, as you know, Kawaconn has experienced our first integration with you guys, and it was very well managed and quite simple. Are there any other collaborations and APIs that you're working on that we can get a little bit of an insight into without mentioning any names, and it'll just be between you and I promise.
Look, we have so many integrations that are in development at the moment, which is so exciting, right? And one thing that we've needed to do to support that is actually look at how we scale that app ecosystem. So I'm happy to share this. I'm working at the moment on launching what we're calling the Smokeball Marketplace, which is going to be a place for all of our partners, our integration services and legal document providers to showcase what their offering is to law firms. And the really great thing about that is, it will be available on our website as just a listing page for people to find out more about who we work with. But it's also going to be embedded in our application so that any existing users that we have in Smokeball who maybe, think, gosh, I really need help streamlining my personal injury processes can go and actually search within our product and find Kawaconn.
They'll find Kawaconn. Fantastic. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So that is something we're really excited about because we're passionate, about helping all of these other tech tools working with us to get in front of our clients so that,
So you're becoming equally as much as a productivity platform, a distribution platform for other people that are possibly trying to break into the legal tech space.
Yeah, that's right. I do a lot of work with startup tech businesses that are keen, obviously, to get in front of the law firms that we have using our platform, and this is just going to be a great way for them to do that in a really nice, well positioned and exciting.
That sounds super exciting. All right. Hey Emma, one of the questions I really wanted to ask you about, and it's very topical because I know it's brought a number of law firms unstuck over the recent time, and when I look at the tenders that we're asked to submit to, cybersecurity is a massive area of concern for businesses, in particular the Kawaconn business where we've done our ISO 27001 accreditation. It is a massive area of concern. I think the general public are concerned about it. It's not just a part of the medical side, but certainly the legal side. And I know it's a point of difference for Smokeball. Could you just give us a little bit of information and share a little bit about how you guys are approaching cybersecurity and what your point of difference is in that space to other practice management software platforms?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, from our perspective, yes, this is a really concerning and pertinent issue at the moment. Obviously, with all of the media attention that it got last year, it's become very, very topical for us and all of the small law firms that are using Smokeball as well. So we see ourselves as being consultants, essentially, to our small law firms, able to offer advice and guidance on these types of issues like cybersecurity. So just within the last couple of months, we've hired a full InfoSec team to completely review everything that we're doing internally and make sure that we're compliant with, probably the most stringent rules, which is the UK GDPR.
Yep.
So we've implemented, a whole new range of policies to ensure that everything we're doing, obviously, with our law firm's data is within compliance of that. And we are now working as well very closely with Fileman, who is a partner of ours that's particularly relevant to this cybersecurity area. They have just recently developed their own tool called Legal Store, which essentially allows you to capture all of your historical data past the 7-year archiving mark that lawyers are required to do, but redact all of the personally identifying information. So you can kind of keep all of that historical information that's really important to law firms without being in breach of any privacy issues, which that tends to be quite of importance to law firms because they want, the documents, the letters that they sent back in that time when they were operating for that particular client, but obviously they don't want to be in breach. So yeah, for us it's about identifying obviously different partners that we can work with to help solve for some of the problems that are specific to legal in this space, as well as addressing obviously ourselves in-house any potential risks that there might be.
Yeah. So I imagine if I reflect on some of the breaches that I've observed in other businesses, a lot of it comes back to the simple old email.
Yeah.
And would you agree or disagree that perhaps the API integrations go some way to mitigating a lot of the email communication risk?
Yeah, totally. And we actually have our own inbuilt messaging tool within the platform, which is designed not just for staff to message each other, but also for the law firm to communicate directly with clients and other third parties. It was actually designed for this specific reason because there were a number of email breaches where, bank account details were misappropriated and things like that. This particular tool that we have, it's, a downloadable app on your phone if you're kind of the law firm's client. So you can message that way, get updates about where your matter is at, and it all requires multi-factor authentication.
Removing the email risk, I see as a major opportunity and risk in your space, and the downloadable app for whether you're in conveyancing, whether you're in estate, family planning or personal injury, I can see is a huge advantage, and well done. Congratulations on how you've addressed that massive cybersecurity risk.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's interesting. Despite all that, though, it is hard to get people to move away from email because, you think about it, lawyers live and breathe every day in email. You've got communication's just constantly coming in that way. It's hard to kind of completely step change to a new way of communicating. Yeah. But we're getting there.
I think it's a really important area. So much of the cybersecurity breaches are done through emails.
Yes.
So moving away from that into your APIs for the better client experience, I would imagine, as well. If they've got the app for the practice area that you're working in, would really help to prevent a lot of those transactions that get done on email to be safely done in the API apt space.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I that would be my one encouragement for all law firms, no matter your size, stop, taking direct deposits as payments, because that's where things obviously can go really pear-shaped. If you're communicating your bank details via email, somebody intercepts that and changes those bank details to their own. That's where a lot of those breaches have happened, and obviously people are missing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yeah, we have a really nice integration with Stripe, which allows you to get paid by a credit card, which, I should add as well, helps you to reduce debtor days too. You imagine that, like, if you received an invoice and somebody asked you to pay by direct deposit, it's such a pain to log into your bank and do it all. It's so much easier just to click a link and pay by credit card.
Yeah, so the message is, even for small law firms, don't think that you are at the mercy of old technology that's less safe, higher risk. Move over to Smokeball, manage your cybersecurity risk, and look after your clients better.
Yeah, that's right. And everyone will love you for it, so just do it.
I like it. Well, look, I think we've probably pretty much covered everything for today, Emma. Thank you so much for your time, your insights. Smokeball is an amazing product. As a collaborator with you, really appreciate what you've done for the Kawaconn business so far, and we look forward to collaborating with you both here and in the US.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Emma.